from that. We have this amazing opportunity this past week to go to Haiti. And we left on Tuesday, just got back last night, and it was an outstanding opportunity. And I've been on a lot of short-term missions trips, which is what you call it if you only go for about a week or 2 weeks. I've gone a lot of missions trips, and this was by far the most effective missions trip I've ever been on. There was over 25 of us that went, and it was outstanding. Usually when you go, what I do, I don't know, maybe this is me because I'm a punk, but I'm always thinking, who's the prima donna on this trip? Because every trip, there's a prima donna that shows up and, the skinny jeans and, they got their makeup on. They've got their hair ironed. You're in a third world country. What are you doing, And so they're not drinking anything but cold water, and I'm not going to eat that. That's gross. It's like, there's no McDonald's around here, And so it's like, what is going to happen? And there were no prima donnas. Everybody got involved. The first day we show up in St. Mark, which the house that we're staying in is a missions house for just to host people who come and serve Haiti. And so what we're doing is we're constructing bunk beds. And so we show up, there's all this lumber delivered, and you guys paid for that lumber through your giving. And so that lumber shows up. And we brought all these tools that are battery operated because there's no power there. They save the generator for certain times of day, like for showers or whatever. So there's no power. We're using all these battery operated saws, and when the batteries die, we have to pull out a handsaw. And so we're making literally over 600 cuts with a handsaw. And I'm talking about plywood. We're cutting long ways with the handsaw. It's ridiculous. And it took us a day and a half to make 10 bunk beds. And I'm a baby, right? And so my hand is swollen from the back of the drill, shoving these 4-inch screws into these bunk beds. And it was amazing to see everybody rise up and get involved in this construction project. And we leave from there and we go to Port-au-Prince, just outside Port-au-Prince, to an orphanage that I was at 3 years ago. And 3 years ago when I showed up to this orphanage, it was dust. They literally had I'm not saying sticks, but parts of trees, like a tree limb sticking up out of the ground that they would throw tarp over. And when we got there was no tarp because the wind had just blown it off. And there's a bunch of naked kids running around, just in the dirt. And this is their orphanage. And now 3 years later, because of your giving and things that you have done, it's completely different. We drove up to this giant cement wall that cost $30,000 that you guys bought and paid for so that those kids could have a sense of security. And inside there's all these houses, there's bunk beds that another team made on a different trip. And we were able to do a VBS out there and love on these kids and do games and telling them about Jesus. We were able to give them shoes that you guys have donated. And it was just incredible to be able to do that. And then another thing that we did is after that, if that wasn't enough, there's this woman that I want to talk to you about. There's a whole illustration that I want to talk to you about. Her name is Lily Garcia. And she comes from a huge church where she had a super swank job that anybody in ministry would want. But she felt God was calling her to more than just living in that circle. And so what she decided to do was step out of that position into a part-time role at our church, at Oasis Church. She's our executive director of leadership development. And so she's working part-time for us and then part-time on this ministry that she started called Tiaras. Now, the whole point of Tiaras is she was affected as a young woman. And so she wants to talk to young teenage women. And so the way she had no idea what she's doing. She said, I don't know, maybe this will work. Maybe this is something we could do. She decides to do this ball-like event where these girls, it's like their quince or whatever you want to call it, their prom. And so they wear these gowns and they get decked out and they come out to this event. She talks to them through the book of Esther about purity, about how God has created them for something more. And she talks to them about suicide, which is the #1 killer of teenage girls. And she talks to them about these very important things. At the end of the night, they all come up front and they get crowned with a tiara. And they're told they're the daughter of a king. And they should see themselves that way. And so it's really changing a generation. It's something powerful. And so we asked people to donate dresses. And over 500 dresses were donated. We had people shipping dresses to us from New York. And these are luxurious gowns. I'm talking about these are fancy dresses. I don't know, super luxurious gowns, right? And so we shipped them out there, and we said, well, we've got more dresses than we need. This is amazing. Way more than we need. And so we're counting on 250 girls. So the first night we're going to go out there, and so we have to unpack all these boxes, and the girls know that they're coming there to claim their dress before the Tiaras event. And some of the most luxurious dresses are the ones that aren't going to fit them. And I'm feeling horrible about this. They're putting on the dresses. They're just trying it on over their clothes. And the ladies are like, oh, I'm sorry, these don't fit. And these young girls are like, no, no, no. And they put the dress down. They pull out a needle and thread. And they're like, zoop! And they put the dress on. And it fits like a boss. And it's like, what is happening? You know, and it's like they're used to making their own clothes, right? And so they just tailored their own dresses. And I'm talking, these dresses look like they were tailor-made for these girls. And we challenged them to invite their friends the following night. And the following night, at 2 p.m. is when their makeup starts. And all the girls that came on the trip are like pulling all the makeups out of their bag. They're just trying to put them all together. And these girls are just start trickling in at 2 p.m. and they start putting this makeup on. And they look outrageously beautiful. More beautiful than they've ever seen themselves in their entire life. And they're taking these selfies, and these girls are like dropping a pose like for their selfies. And so you don't really get an idea of how many girls are there because they're all trickling in. And we go back at 6 p.m., and there are exactly about 500 girls there. We had the exact number of dresses. The place is absolutely packed out. And it was just outstanding to see. And through a translator, they're hearing this outstanding story about their purity, about how God has chosen them for a purpose, how they are the daughter of a king. They all come forward and they all get crowned. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And they asked me to do some photography and some video stuff. And so one of the things that they did was after that, they'd never done it before, and I was really nervous about it, but they had these girls leave the building and parade around town. It was like a never-ending line of girls. I'm talking, it never stopped. I felt like it was National Geographic. It was like I'm running alongside these girls, and I'm jumping in these houses that I don't know this person, and I'm like going up on their deck, and I'm like taking photos, like I got this shot, you know, and I'm like everywhere. It was amazing. These girls are singing these songs. People are coming out all around town. Their grandmothers, they're walking by the grandmother's house. They're all coming out bawling, and they're touching these girls' faces because they don't recognize them. And it was just outstanding. And the girls in Haiti are often overlooked, you know, because they just belong in the home. That's just where they are. And the men are out doing their thing. And they just got loved on so much because of you guys. And it was the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And it all happened because one woman said, I've achieved what this world says is a good thing. And I'm going to step out of that into a very, very scary place. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyways. And something like that happened. Like none of us would have thought that we are standing in Haiti right now, getting ready to do an event that was designed for American girls in this way. And it was just outstanding to see what can happen when you're willing to step outside of that circle and lead.